it online, but I know the reports from being there in person were just amazing.
Yeah, you could see it from Florida up into Georgia as well. So Jen, when we left our viewers last hour, we were talking about the patch, and patches are really important for all these launches. And you said there's a red line that goes off to the moon, and we stopped you there. Why is that significant?
Well, we were looking at the program patch and the red line, and it's red because we're talking about Mars. This is a program that's not just about going back to the moon. This is about ultimately what's beyond, and Mars is beyond.
And when do we think we're going to get to Mars?
That timeline is still to be determined, but we do have planned now 2024 to take the next Artemis 2 mission, which would involve taking astronauts and orbiting around the moon, and then Artemis 3 would place astronauts back on the lunar surface. It also would involve bringing the first woman and first person of color to put boots down on the lunar surface.
And speaking of these astronauts, you were saying they were not alive during Apollo.
Isn't that fascinating? So we're in the Artemis generation now. I mean, think about the Apollo generation that really happening actually right now, because the Orion capsule is on its way. So we'll talk about what's happening there. And then most importantly, one of the most important tests that will happen at the end of the mission. We'll talk about that.
Interested. And also, Jordan, we are going to answer some viewer questions. We had a question on Twitter that we will answer for you. If you have any more questions for Jen, hit us up on Twitter.
Perfect. In the meantime, want to let everybody know here back on Earth how to buckle up for a bit of a messy commute in the Northeast. I know you know this. You look out the window, you're like, all right, we got some snow. Or if you're on the
long-awaited three-part mission overnight. And Jen Carfagno is joining us to talk about Artemis, where it is now, what's going to happen for the rest of the mission, and then beyond from that. So first, let's start with the launch. What was it like there for people that witnessed this firsthand?
I mean, I wish I was there, right? I watched it along with a lot of folks on the NASA TV, but I actually spoke to Renee Frenert earlier this morning. She was there. She's one of the rocket designers that worked on the rocket, and this is what she said it was like at launch this morning. Wow. I mean, how exciting. Also, I mean, for the thousands, probably tens of thousands of people that have worked on it, how neat.
I'm getting the chills, and I have
I know.
All right, so where is it now, and how are they able to track it, Jen?
Right, so they're tracking it here using satellites, using other tracking technology, but it's the Orion capsule now that is there. So all the other pieces of the rocket that you've seen throughout this whole process.
What does that mean for the average viewer and for myself?
So basically there was a burn using fuel, right path to get on a lunar orbit. So that's what it's doing right now, is trying to get in that lunar orbit. And you can't see it on here, but there's a flash that will happen December the 11th.
Oh, Jen, thank you so much for joining us. We've learned so much. It's been really exciting having you, but we got to get to Jordan and talk about our what's happening with the flu.
Yeah, I'm talking about it all morning. We're going to keep it going here, talking about the launch. We'll track where the Orion capsule is. We'll talk all about it, get more perspective, too, from what happened this morning at Kennedy Space Center.
Yeah, and there'll be a little weather, too, to talk about near Buffalo, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Just a little bit.
How about a cold snap?
Yeah, we got that, too.
All right, snap to it, guys.
Nice, Shavers.
Have a great day. Safe travels.
All right, thanks so much for staying with us here and choosing America's Morning Headquarters. We're here to get you through the mid-morning hours.
Yes, the Weather Channel helping you plan for all of your big events ahead. Some of them might need to be postponed because of some snow. Alex, even this morning, though, we've had a decent amount of snow out there covering roads.
Yeah, enough to make it slick. And we saw this a bit yesterday as well. It across parts of Illinois into Indiana, some slick, slushy spots. So we got to be careful. We don't need a ton of snow to cause issues. In fact, when you look at the stats, it's really just about a trace to 2 inches that causes the most accidents.
And that's what we have. Plus, today on the show, we got a couple of guests. One to talk more about what happened this morning at Kennedy Space Center as Artemis launched, and another to talk about America Recycles Day. That was yesterday, but we're going to keep following up on it and hopefully answer some hard questions about how do you really recycle well?
Right, exactly. Is it really working out there?
Yes.
All right, well, let's get you to the snapshot as we mark.
Just wearing flip-flops last week, and that's not normal in Atlanta either.
No,
but
not at all.
Between the cold coming all the way to the south and the snow that's happening, things
like that.
The whiplash.
Well, Mother Nature, no doubt, is serving up today.
Morning. That's a good way to put it, Alex. Let's go to South Bend, Indiana, where we've had the snow falling through the overnight. Roads are covered out here. Look at where we are for your forecast today. We'll keep the snow showers through lunchtime. Maybe there's some breaks this afternoon, but the snow showers stick around as we get into the evening, and our temperatures are staying very close to the freezing mark. So luckily, they're just above, but no doubt anything elevated might have some issues. And when you have a snowpack look, snow is icy cold, and so there will be slick spots. It's sort of very chaotic right now when you look at the radar, but you can see some of this light snow coming down from Iowa into Illinois. Did see some reports from viewers that some roads are icy actually this morning in Iowa. Also seeing some of the snow here still coming down across parts of northern New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. Now that's with that system snow. What we want to show you is what we're dealing with now and then how it all comes together into the bigger lake effect event that happens for us through the rest of the week. But right now we have snow showers in Des Moines. I mean, look at your radar. It doesn't look like there's a lot happening, but that's the thing with sometimes with snow. It's just very light, but it can provide a coating, especially when temperatures are in the 20s. Your front steps might be slippery. Your driveway might be slippery. Heads up for all of that. Don't let it catch you off guard. Then we jump to this snow that's happening. Syracuse, we've switched over to rain, but we did have some snow earlier. Albany, we've now switched over to rain. I mean, the temperature is so close. We've got 34 degrees in both of these spots, so that critical temperature. Now, we do have some winter storm warnings. Those are posted up here into northern Maine. The snow is going to hang on longer across that area. And then winter weather advisories do extend actually into the interior, into northern New York, Vermont, New Hampshire. But we're going to be watching, Alex, for, I think, the lake effect to really take over as the biggest story as we get into the next 2 to 4 days. Take a look at some of the temps and how long it lasts. Places like Atlanta, a great example. These are the forecast highs. And I had to do a double check because, yes, 49 degrees for a high today. Yes. That's it in Atlanta. Temps are not budging a whole lot. Worse tomorrow at 48 degrees. You'll start really cold in the morning. And this is the case for a lot of cities across the south and southeast. Now, there's a slight increased trend in temperatures, but you notice the average is 64. We're still below average getting into the Wednesday before Thanksgiving and Thanksgiving itself staying on the colder side. So let's look at how it plays out all across the South. Temperatures today running below average only in the 40s in Tennessee, including around Nashville and Knoxville. Temps in the 50s, Raleigh and Savannah, all below average. Orlando's okay. You're about 81, but you'll see those temperatures actually start dropping off because look at Orlando tomorrow. 68 degrees. That's a little chilly for you if you're coming down to get a little fun in the sun. Temps are definitely cooling off as the cold air sinks south. So let's talk more about this cold stretch with the 48-degree high temperature that we're forecasting tomorrow in Atlanta. That's even colder than your average January high. Nashville, same deal. Forecasting a high of only 44. Average January high is 49. This is colder. The same thing is happening in Memphis and Jackson, Mississippi, and Asheville, North Carolina, where the forecast high is 41. That's colder than a January average high temperature. Now, we know we get colder than average, so yes, it happens, but this is a really a cold snap with some longevity to it. So the coldest air of the season is on its way, pushes south all the way down south into South Texas, on the move by this weekend, setting up over the Great Lakes. It's a big part in the story to that lake effect event that we expect to be going on, and then sinks all the way south into at least central Florida. We'll see if it gets all the way down to South Florida. Temps on Friday, still below average, even though they're a little bit better than what you'll see the next 2 days, Alex.
Ooh, well, to complement the cold.
Definitely, the lakes are open for business. Now, yesterday on the show, y'all were talking about what are some things that you need to have in your car in case of emergency when traveling during the winter. Right on cue, right, in terms of what we're dealing with. A couple of...
From a few years ago,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Oof. Matt Scott says, not that, you know, the number one thing is the biggest...
Right. But if you do, make sure that you're prepared.
Yes.
Well, like any big task, saving the world starts with baby steps. Billions around the world are doing their part by recycling, and yes, challenge.
It really is. I mean, you try to do the right thing, and again, things, it's like 1 minute this can be recycled, the next minute it can't. It is tough to try to figure out.
The uncertainty can make it tough to work around, and we have a guest on the show coming up to help answer some of these questions.
Absolutely. So we'll get some answers there when it comes to recycling, because we all want to do better.
Yes. Well, this morning, the launch of the Space Launch System, Artemis 1.
And Jen, I have to say, you stayed up, or you at least woke up a little earlier to watch.
I went to bed a little early so that I could get up early.
Yeah.
And then there was a delay. So the launch window opened at 1:04. And it did not launch at 1:04, but it was very exciting. It did launch. Coming up, we're actually going to talk to a rocket designer who was on the ground during the launch today and get her perspective on what it was like during this historic launch.
Yeah, I'm sure it was a fantastic experience, so can't wait to check out and hear from them. We'll be back in just a bit. Just about returning to the moon as humans did last century.
Yes, yes, yes. It's about going beyond. Now, aerospace engineer and rocket designer Lawrence Savage, Apollo and Saturn days.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for having me. Every rocket.
The joy of seeing this thing finally taking off. So we've seen this take off. What's happening now as this rocket pushes some of that new technology towards our nearest neighbor?
Yeah.
There's more than just Orion. There was CubeSats that were launched as well as part of this that will go out there and give us more observations. This morning, before launch, there was one challenge. There was a delay, and we heard that the red team had to go out there. And that was the first I've ever heard of this red team. Was that a surprising thing to have happened? Fully tanked rocket sitting there ready to go. That was very courageous.
Very brave indeed. I imagine some of the delays that we've had to experience here before this successful launch and some of the long waits. You've learned a lot from that, no doubt, as you go into the future, right?
Yes, certainly.
Our viewers may have heard about Capstone, which actually just got to the moon a few days ago. Can you talk about what that is and what it means for the Artemis mission?
Yeah.
To be a rocket designer. Lauren Savage, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your perspective this morning. She's an aerospace engineer and rocket designer.
How cool is that,
It is
right?
so cool, yes.
Man, blasting off, and this is going to be one that we're going to be tracking, for decades to come, right, when it's all said and done, landing on the moon and maybe even... So
we're talking about the snow happening now, but we've got an even bigger event that is planned by Mother Nature for the rest of the week.
Right. No one else wants these plans, right? It's going to be a tough time here for us at the end of the weekend, head to the weekend. Lake effect that's really going to take over here for us. And we're going to be talking about measuring it in not just inches, but feet.
Feet, yes. Jim Cantori is talking about Charles Peak needing like a 4-foot measuring stick. If they even existed, but we'll see. We will see. I want to show you what we're dealing with here in the forecast and what we have actually ongoing right now to start, because we have some snow. A couple of inches already have been reported after what began yesterday, continues now this morning. Now, there's still some light snow falling across central Iowa, a lot of it moving now into central Illinois, Chicago, just off to your west, you're getting some snow, and snow showers here into northern Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, and a little bit into New York State. Still lingering, but that whole zone, in Pennsylvania, we picked up 3 to 4.5 inches of snowfall yesterday. Now here we go today with where that snow is the steadiest, where you see the darker blues have now sank just south of Interstate 80. So that's where we're getting some more decent snowfall accumulations are falling. The snowfall rate is falling just a little bit heavier. That's also, though, about to sink onto 80 across northern Illinois. And so get ready. Conditions will go downhill just because of the snow quickly coating the road surface. A lot of traffic out there. It's always hard to keep those roads treated. Now we jump over into northern New York and Vermont, where around Burlington, it's cold and snowy this morning. We've got the snowflakes falling for you in Watertown, although this is not your big event of the week. That is to come with the lake effect, which we'll talk about. Now, winter weather advisories up for parts of New York State. Albany, you had changed over to rain. I think yours is pretty much over now. Winter storm warning, though, across northern Maine, and that does include Caribou. We're going to hang on to that snow out there that's happening right now a little bit longer, and it will be adding up a little bit more. Let me put this into motion and show you how much longer we're dealing with these snow showers here moving around Chicago. We'll get some snow this afternoon. It might not be a huge amount of accumulation, but snowflakes nonetheless will be flying through the air. We're going to see perhaps a couple of inches there, scooting through northern Indiana, across lower Michigan as we get through tonight. And then we start to get into the lake enhancement portion of this story, and that really sets up as we get into tomorrow and then Friday. And we'll see, we think, some of that lake enhancement coming in off of Lake Michigan, a little bit off of Lake Superior as well, and then Lake Erie, and then eventually Lake Ontario. Get ready for that. The snow we'll see off of Lake Michigan, which will fall in places like Grand Rapids and down towards South Bend, about 3 to 5 inches, maybe a few spots locally heavier up there into northern Minnesota, where we could get 5 to 8. Well, let's talk more about this other Eastern Lake snow, Alex.
Yes, it's going to be coming in. And a proclamation to promote the usefulness of recycling as we push to reduce our impact on the world.
It's part of the America Recycles Week campaign. And Sarah Dearman, that's time-consuming, sometimes costly. What's being done to streamline the recycling programs?
Well, to try to make things better out there. Now, when we get back to the family level here, what are some of the practical ways that families can recycle at home and actually make it work?
Questions always is, do you need to clean out the item? Like, say it was a jar that had applesauce in it, or a plastic container that had soda. Do you need to rinse that out before you put it in recycling?
No, you do not. You need to make sure that it's in.
I think you've alluded to this earlier, is trying to figure out ways that everything that we do bring into our homes is recyclable. So is there sort of a push to get businesses to make items like that?
That's right. That's a huge.
There's Sarah Dearman, the Chief Innovation Officer with the Recycling Partnership. Thank you so much for your time today and answering those questions. Alex, I have gotten in with like soap and a sponge and tried to like really clean some up
Well, now you can save time.
I don't know. Yeah.
Of course, you can join the discussions about.
Although a lot of peaches come from South Carolina, so.
Who'd have thunk it, right?
Yeah. All right. Here's your forecast. As we've been talking about, the chill is in the air. Temps today only in the 50s, but only in the 40s.
It's morning
tomorrow.
temperatures too. 20s.
I know. 20s.
So you really feel it.
Yeah.
All right. Good stuff. Yeah. Congratulations. Return there in Vegas.
What? I didn't even know that was a job.
Exactly, right? The
Go
things
be a
you
mermaid.
learn.
Yes.
60 for you there in Vegas along the Strip. Lots and lots of sunshine. Looking
Yeah.
pretty good in southern Nevada.
I saw that sun out in your tower cam, Alex, and there was someone standing in there. And I was trying to decide if it was a statue or a person because they were very still.
They were still. I think it was a person.
It is a person.
You
Yeah.
find all sorts of stuff in Vegas.
That's true.
You never know what you're going to find.
The tower cam is fun to watch. All right, let's go back to our question of the day. We're talking to really wash it,
Yeah.
just make sure it's empty.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a good thing to save water and,
Yeah.
save you some time. Jessica says,
It's no longer picked up. And I don't really know where to bring it either. So
Yeah.
for a while I thought, well, maybe I can get the scouts to, help. But it's just not easy.
yeah, it's not easy at all. So,
It's not even a little bit easy. Like, right? I mean, we're not trying to, So
it's one of those things. This is a challenge that hopefully we can try to figure out here and make it better.
well, let's take you into some events. How do folks who've worked on the Artemis mission? And really, there's probably tens of thousands of people here in the U.S. and around the world that have worked on getting that rocket up today. And so I know there's a lot of emotions involved in seeing it go.
Yeah, that's really cool to see, absolutely. And of course, there will be many more to come here as we follow these missions here in the coming days, or coming years, I should say.
Coming years. That was Artemis 1. Artemis 2. Artemis 1 will be unmanned around the moon. Artemis 2 will be manned around the moon. Artemis 3, boots back on the ground, putting the first woman and first person of color on the lunar surface.
How cool is that? Right now, I think it's the mannequins in there that they call the Moonikins.
The Moonikins.
Oh, well, thanks for choosing America's Morning Headquarters. We are here with you on this midweek. Take you to the mid-morning hours.
Yeah, exciting morning here to start here, but we got a lot of exciting weather in the days ahead, starting off with some snow showers that are out there today. A lot more snow to come thanks to the Great Lakes. And on the show today, we'll bring you some perspective from what happened this morning at Kennedy Space Center, really give you a firsthand account of that. And we're also going to talk a little bit about recycling.
Yes, lots of, we all know this. There's challenges to recycling, so we're going to get a sort of a sense of some better ways to do it. And one organization that is trying to make things a little bit easier on all of us when it comes to recycling. The snow can add up very quickly.
Time to shovel already.
Oh, man, yeah, it comes quick. Well, Mother Nature serving up today's big deal on ice. Cold air.
As Alex put it earlier today, which I thought was cute. South Bend, one of those spots. You've had some snow this morning. The snow showers continue right through the afternoon. And it might not be snowing every single moment, but you've got a chance. And your temperatures are hugging that freezing mark. We're 34, maybe 33 degrees by this evening. And that is going to mean that, in places where the snow isn't cleared, the road's not treated, your driveway maybe not treated, it will be slippery. 34 degrees. When you have snow cover comes down, that will insulate that ground and it will be cold as ice. Now we have a look at the snowflakes right now, northern Illinois, and moving out of Iowa into Illinois, this area pretty much on either side of I-80 right now, but it looks like some of that's sinking onto I-80, so that's going to be a tough travel problem. We've got some snow showers now moving into southern Indiana as well, and up into New York State and Maine. That's where some of the snow has been heaviest. You can see the flakes in Chicago now, 34 degrees for you. Peoria, we've had snow off and on, temperature hitting about 30. Des Moines, it doesn't even look like much on your radar, but we still have at least some light snow in the air. Temperatures are 23 degrees, so it will be slick out there on spots that are not cleared. Syracuse, we've changed over to rain. Albany, we've changed over to rain. Our temperature is now up to 35, so we're up from freezing. But Burlington, we're still sitting out there with snow and temperatures right at 33. You see how everything's kind of lifting north, right? That'll push this rain-snow line up a little bit. Bangor, you're mixing in with some rain and snow and even a wintry mix right now. But we're going to stay Today, all snow here in Caribou, where it is snowing at temps in the 20s right now, and that's why a winter storm warning is in effect there for you. The snowflakes that we see in the Midwest and into even really the Northeast here will continue to be off and on through this evening. Alex?
Oh, man.
I know, Alex, those are crazy stats. I mean, it's far below the average low for this time of year. And Atlanta, we're going to be below the average high big time today. Temps only in the 40s today and tomorrow. Temperatures average 64 degrees right now. And it's, you know, look, it's not that unusual to be a little below or a little above an average. That's how you get an average. But the below averageness of our air stays with us all the way through Thanksgiving and the day after. Temps on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving only back to 60. Which is still below average. This is going to be a long stretch here of temps on the cooler side. Today, only in the 50s, mid-50s, Dallas, Little Rock, Jackson. But you've got those 40s looming out there in much of Tennessee, including around Nashville and Knoxville. Temps are going to be in the 40s today. Tomorrow, actually a couple of degrees cooler there. Look at Raleigh, 50s today, 40s tomorrow. Orlando, we're going to be in the 80s today. How about upper 60s tomorrow? Huge shock to the system, especially for anyone who's trying to get a little fun in the sun there in Orlando at some of the theme parks. Atlanta, we're going to look at comparing your temperature, your forecast high temperature, to what you typically expect in January. So the averages for January for Atlanta, Nashville, Memphis, Jackson, Asheville, we're all going to be colder than our average January high temperature. Yes, that's how cold it is this mid-November. We're looking at temps that are going to stay like this, too, because by the end of the week, another push of cold air comes in, going all the way down, dropping through Texas. That's on the move this weekend, especially up around the lakes. We're going to see the cold air moving over the still unfrozen lakes, which contributes to our lake effect story. And we'll see that spread into at least central Florida getting into the weekend. So Friday's temperatures back to the 40s in Nashville. Atlanta, you'll have low 50s, and that'll be steady as we get into the weekend. Again, all running about 10 degrees below average. Look at Dallas, 48 degrees on Saturday. Now, thanks to this colder air, we're going to have more snow, Alex. The wives' tales about the cold weather and your health. Well, some might be true, some aren't. Meteorologist Mark Elliott gives us the cold, hard facts.
You've heard it.
I mean, I wish you eat ice cream, Alex. You're right.
Well, there you go. Fact versus fiction. Yesterday, it was all about talking about emergency kits in the cars because we got the winter weather going on. It's Winter Safety Awareness Week in the state of Ohio. So we wanted to know what you have in that car emergency kit when you're driving in the winter. And how about this one from I-65 that you don't think about, right?
That's a good tip.
Yeah.
And then remember to take it out during the summer because there is extra weight because I'm
right, yeah.
cause a little extra gas that you might need. All right, now, like any big task, saving the world starts with baby steps.
It's all to kind of be on the same page of what can be recycled. It seems like it'd be an easy fix, but it's not.
The lid on water bottles or any kind of bottle, recycle or not?
I don't know.
I don't know
We
either.
should know that.
We should know that, yeah. 22,000 miles, the rocket and our spacecraft is going 220,000+ miles away.
my.
So it's going far.
Oof.
Well, earlier this morning, I got the chance to speak with a space engineer, Renee Frenette. Take a listen.